30 years ago today, Graham Gooch completed a very famous innings at Lords, that 333 that we've been chatting about. It's a fantastic innings, but it was actually a really special match in general. England taking on India. It was a game which saw a brilliant 100 from Mohammad Azharuddin, as we mentioned, and an amazing one-handed catch from Sachin Tendulkar, and of course Kapil Dev hitting Eddie Hemmings for those 4 successive sixes to save the follow-on. We're going to look back on the match more now with Aggers, who's joined by Angus Fraser, who took 8 wickets in the game, Kapil Dev, Azharuddin, Hemmings, and of course Graham Gooch himself.
It was a great game of cricket all round for a lot of other performances apart from mine, and to come to the ground you dream about playing as a cricketer. Lords, by far the best ground in the world, my favourite ground and a lot of other cricketers' favourite ground, I'm sure, but one that everyone wants to play on, and managed to get a decent performance there is brilliant. And I always think that how lucky and privileged I was to play and make 456 totally in that match. Started with no runs and ended up with the most runs in a test, so it's quite ironical, isn't it?
Well, it's incredible, but just to reel off that number of runs, it's a staggering number of runs. I mean, that's more than a team usually makes.
Well, I think, to get the opportunity, when people ask me about it, to get the opportunity to score a triple 100 doesn't come around that often. When the advent of 4-day cricket in county domestic cricket came about a few years earlier, I gave it away once on 275 against Kent, and I was determined if I ever got that opportunity again to get a triple 100, I wouldn't miss out. And once I got past sort of 250, then you start to think of that. But it was a great game, not only for my performance, but there's some super performances from our bowlers to win the match, and other hundreds from Lamb, Smith, Shastri, Azharuddin. 100 off 88 balls he scored, so I was a bit pedestrian, I'm afraid.
I guess it was a big game for you too, wasn't it? Because you had been out of the previous series, so you had to get yourself way back into the team again. You got 5 wickets.
It wasn't. It was my first test at Lords too, so a big occasion for me. I don't think the honours boards were the honours boards up then. I can't remember, but say with the honours boards being as they are now. The desire to perform at the home of cricket and to get a 5 or to get 100 or to do something like that. So, no, it was a huge game. I'd say my first test of the summer, because I'd picked up a rib injury in the West Indies and missed the series against New Zealand. And it's lovely, Graham, when you win the toss, or lose a toss as we did on this occasion, and you find yourself batting first and you get to lunch or you get halfway through the day, and you're only 1 down. As a bowler, it's heaven. It's feet up, it's give lunch a crack, it's drift round the ground, catch up with a few mates, have a sleep in the afternoon. Exactly, and it's absolute heaven, isn't it? So
this is your downtime as a bowler.
It is, with worrying about what's going to come ahead, but no, it was a lovely couple of days to begin with.
I must ask you about the toss, Graham, because of course Mohammad Azharuddin won the toss and put you in. Now, there you are out there, and you'd have thrown the coin up, and he'd have called it to you. He saw it, and he came down, and he saw that he'd won. What was your immediate reaction? Do you think, oh, we're in the field here?
Well, yeah, I mean, normally at Lords, having played there many times before, is that normally on the first day, sometimes it's quite humid, sometimes it's a little bit overcast, and there's a little bit tad of dampness sometimes in the wicket, because the groundsman Mick Hunt, I always used to leave it slightly damp because he didn't want to crack too early, didn't want to dry out too early. So the first session of a test could be difficult at Lords, but that's the same in any test match. But you'd think about maybe the climatic conditions, but you'd always bat. And the interesting thing was that I was speaking to Bisham Bedi, and he was the sort of coach for India in that match, and he spoke to Azharuddin at the nets and he said, it's overcast, should we bowl? He said, no, bat. He said, it's going to swing around, should we bowl? No, we're going to bat. And when he left the nets and walked across the ground, the next thing Bisham heard was India have won the toss and will field. So he wasn't best pleased.
He wasn't pleased at all.
No, he was not pleased at all as the coach. And of course, the rest is history. We went on and on and on for a day and 3 quarters, really. And I mean, to me, I was very lucky and privileged to play cricket like both of you guys for my country. To walk out at 11 o'clock on a Thursday to bat in a test match at this ground is the best day of a test cricketer's life, because this is the best ground. The atmosphere, the tradition, the home of cricket, the expectancy is just fabulous.
Yeah. You had one stroke of luck though, didn't you, Graham? Listen to this.
Here is Sharma again. He's in. Gooch try. Oh, he misses that one. He may well have been dropped. For some extraordinary reason, they've not gone for a run. It went through Kiran More, it went past Vengsaka there at first slip, it went about 20 yards back to the boundary. The batsman didn't run, so we've no means of knowing whether, in fact, Gooch made contact. I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah, dropped on a dolly, really.
Good on Trevor, putting it into perspective. But was it a dolly?
Very sharp and clinical. Yeah, it was a very easy catch for a wicket-keeper, but
You're on 36,
two-handed catch, and just slightly down the slope in front of the pavilion. A catch that is just regulation. How he missed it, I don't know. But I suppose as a cricketer, you take those things in your stride. You get some bad decisions, and if you don't think about drop catches, maybe the bowlers think about them a bit more.
I don't remember the toss being a total shock. It wasn't as terrible a decision as if we look back at, say, Nasser Hussain asking Australia to bat in Brisbane in the first test of that Ashes series. There was enough around to suggest that the ball might do a bit, but once you miss a chance like that and you've let the gun batsman get away, it's going to be costly, isn't it?
When did you know, Graham, that you were going to fill your boots in? That catch went down, but when did you, 100, 200, when did you start to think, I'm really on for a huge one here?
I don't know. I mean, as a batsman, I was always guided from quite a few years before by the late, great Kenny Barrington, who was our first, I suppose you'd call him coach at England level. He was assistant manager on tours in the late 70s and early 80s before he sadly passed away in Barbados in 81 with a heart attack. And he was a bit of a mentor to the likes of myself, David Gower, Ian Botham, Mike Gattin, those sort of cricketers coming through that time. And one thing that he always said to me that stuck in my mind was, get as many as you can, fill your boots. Make sure you get absolutely as many as you can, never give it away, because if you go in the next time, you might get a ball that takes off a bit, gloves you might get one that shoots along the deck, you might get a rough decision, and you'll be happy with that 100, 150. And I just thought of that as I went through in this innings, from one step to the next to the next.
You had a dodgy bat as well.
Oh, you're saying it was too wide?
No, no, it's actually interesting. So the laminated bats, didn't you? You had one of those bats, the turbo, I think it was then. And the only reason I say that is because now the regulations on bats have changed, and the bat you were using, if I'm right, was two pieces of wood stuck together. Now it's supposed to be one solid piece of wood. And all right, I'm not saying Gucci was cheating, because he wasn't, but the people didn't realise then that the glue and the extra surface and the two piece of wood adds an extra little bit of ping to your bat.
What's he saying there, Gucci?
I dispute the last comment there. I do dispute that, but that's a bowler talking, isn't it? I mean, hard done by a bowler. But I mean, the fact of the matter, he's absolutely true. It was a laminated bat made by Stuart Surridge, and what you got was a face and a back. Two top class, what in the old days would be called 5-star pieces of wood. They'd be glued together, and then the bat would be fashioned. And the only benefit, and I honestly say this, from having that was it didn't perform any better than a conventional bat in terms of when you hit the ball the way it pings off, like he said. But the one big advantage was it had a lot of durability. It lasted a lot longer. So if you've got a favourite bat, you could have it. Maybe in the old days I'd use 2.5 bats maybe in a season. I'd have 1.5 bats, maybe even one with one of these bats. So that he had his advantages.
Well, at the end of the first day, you were raising it as he walked in on 194. I wonder how you felt at the start of the next morning then. Down those steps again you went. You got Alan Lamb with you, just got his 104 as you two went out again. What were you saying as you walked out at the start of the second?
Well, if you'd have... I don't know if you ever batted with Lammy in your test career. Gus would have batted with Lammy, I'm sure, at some stage. Alan never really discussed cricket that much, actually. I mean, he discussed probably the meal he had the night before and what was the quality of the wine and sort of stuff. And he always took your mind off the job. I mean, I remember the night before going for dinner with Doug Insole at Odette's at Primrose Hill up the road. I was pretty tired, not only after that innings, but in those days, it's quite topical now because players are saying they're tired and jaded. We used to have one day in between the county match and the test match, the Wednesday. We used to sort of turn up for practice, didn't we, Gus? But it was a bit of a go through the motions, to be honest. And I batted quite a lot on the Tuesday against Lancashire, so I was pretty tired on that first night. But I have to say this, and I don't know what it's like for every cricketer, but one of my favourite parts of playing cricket, and especially at the top level, especially here, as a batsman, being not out overnight was an absolutely lovely feeling. Like Gus just mentioned, when you win the toss and bat and there's runs being piled on, a bowler can relax. I just thought all through my career, being not out overnight was absolutely fantastic, because you'd achieve...
Even against the West Indies?
Well, yeah, I mean, because you achieve something. One is you still got a part to play, and secondly, you got everything to look forward to the next day. And as I said to a lot of people in my career, I'll be honest, I never turned up for matches wanting to watch other people bat. No. I wanted to be out there doing it.
Well, on you went. Lammy, what did he make? 139. So he fell. Robin Smith came out and joined you. But here you go, reaching that huge landmark.
Shastri runs up now around the wicket, bowls to Gooch. Gooch, he just tickles that. That's it! He's got his 300. He tickles it down the long leg, and Gooch is 300 not out. And the crowd rising to him. They're all standing round, tapping. Shastri congratulates him. The Indian team applaud. I haven't seen the umpires do so. That's not done. But a marvellous performance.
There you go. John is obviously enjoying the moment. Does that bring it back for you?
I've never heard that, actually, when he said the umpires are not clapping. I was used to them raising the finger to me many times as I played across the line quite a bit. And there was one particular umpire I won't name, but every time I used to play across the line and I'd hit the ball, he'd go like that. He'd make that expression on his face that I'll get you next time.
But does hearing that bring it back, though? Can you see the crowd standing up now?
Yes, I mean... It's a great feeling, obviously, to score 100 or 200. I've never been anywhere near that before, and never thought I would get anywhere near that because of the time constraint in matches when you declare. And I think we only went on that far in the end because light was bad and everything. So we were going to bat on and on and on, because I don't think we would have fielded even if we would have declared beforehand. So, I mean, I never thought about the runs, in terms of creating records. I played my career and started my career at Essex, where obviously playing for the team was paramount. Sacrificed my wicket many times in run chases for Essex. So personal records are nice, but it's not quite what you play the game for. You play to set up positions to win matches.
But did you know what Gary Sober's record was at the time?
Well, I knew what the record was, 365. I never thought of that, because once I got past 300, I had one intention, was to move the score on quickly for a declaration. And it's only when I came back to the dressing room that Mickey Stewart took me aside and he gave me a bit of a rollicking, I have to say. He took me aside and said, "What are you doing?"
Throwing it away on 333.
Well, pretty much like that, yeah. It wasn't quite, it was a bit of a ticking off saying, "What are you doing getting out? You should have gone on, you should have passed the record." And I said, "Well, to declare, we've got to get out there and have an hour at them or something, try and get some wickets tonight." He said, "You're mad. You should have gone on and taken the record." And I never really thought about that until after he spoke to me, and then I thought, oh, well, maybe I should have.
Well, this is the moment on 333.
We have connoisseurs here today, clearly, and they're seeing history in the making. They may go home and say, "I was there when Graham Gooch broke the world test record." He's got 333 not out as Prabhakar bowls to him. Did bowl him! Oh. Graham Gooch bowled Prabhakar 333. Almost the world stopped just for a second in amazement, and then the crowd erupted in congratulations for Prabhakar, and still greater congratulations for the England captain, Graham Gooch of Essex, who has succumbed at what some might think an unlucky score of 333. He and the crowd who saw it will never forget this innings. Off comes his white helmet, up comes his weighty blade, risen to the crowd, and let's just hear him and the noise as he disappears into the sanctuary of the pavilion.
There we go. He put the curse on you, Christopher, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes happens. And I mean, a lot of things people have said, to me down the years about things. I mean, Frank Keating, who I was very friendly with, who wrote for The Guardian, he said, "I think you're the first man to score a 100 in a batting helmet," and that sort of stuff, which things you don't really think about, actually. Yeah. But, I mean, I was just pleased, obviously. Great honour to captain your country. Great honour to play at Lords and captain some super players. And in the end, people also will remember this match as one of the finest games of cricket, that they've seen, because it had a lot of incident, it had a lot of things happening, it was entertaining from start to finish, and it was just a privilege to be involved in it.
Well, your innings, really, although it obviously dominated the game, it was only really the starter, wasn't it? I mean, it set up this brilliant match. 653 for 4 declared. In go the Indians. They don't lose any wickets overnight. 48 for no wicket. Ravi Shastri opening the batting with our old friend Sidhu. Shastri, of course, gets his 100, but wickets slowly chip away. Gus gets in on the act. In fact, you got Sidhu out, didn't you?
I did. I managed to get him a few times in that series, and I've spoken to him a couple of times since, and he gave him horrors. It must have been the only batsman I ever did, but I remember getting him out a few times, called it short leg. 12th man. John Morris, I think, took a couple of catches, filling in there, and I suppose that, everybody goes on about Graham's innings, but I must say the innings by Azharuddin, that century then, is one of the greatest innings I've ever seen. And it's why, if people ask me who are the best batsmen in the world that I've played at, I put Lara at the top of the list, but Azharuddin's the second best player that I've ever bowled at, and you just didn't seem to have any margin for error against the bloke. If it was 2 inches outside, if it was straight, it was whipped through mid-wicket. If it was 2 inches outside off stump, it went through square leg. And if you bowled 6 inches outside off stump, it flashed over cover for 4. It was just an astonishing display of batting by Azharuddin. Yeah.
Well, I think he's got his 100 off 88 balls, actually. I looked it up before this interview, and I agree with Gus. And as a captain, it's very frustrating because they talk about Kevin Pietersen nowadays, difficult to bowl at, whips the ball through mid-wicket. This guy had all sorts of shots for different balls, but very unconventional. Now, Gus saying that the ball went over offside, leg side, what I remember is if Gus or any of the bowlers would bowl outside off stump, he, like Pietersen, would whip it through mid-wicket, and then suddenly the very next ball might be a little bit straighter off stump, and he'd hit it inside out through cover. It was virtually impossible to set a field to him.
Incredible risk.
And it wasn't like Pietersen in the way that, Pietersen takes a big stride, doesn't he, and gets forward and moves there. Azharuddin did it off the back foot almost, didn't he? He sort of like pirouetted and flicked you from on-off stump through square leg for 4, and you just think, where on earth is... there's the captain standing at slip, double teapot thing, and you're bowling down the leg side again. You say he's not down there. Look at the TV replay. It's outside off stump.
Well, let's hear one or two illustrations of this remarkable innings from Azharuddin.
Here is Lewis, bowls Azharuddin drive. What a fantastic stroke. That was a no ball, but my goodness me, you heard Vic Marks ooh beside me. It was a very much an ooish shot, that. He hit through the line. It must have gone about 2.5 yards to Atherton's right at extra cover. He had no chance in the world, and away it went into the bottom of the mound stand for 4. And my goodness me, what a shot that was. 322 for 5, Azharuddin 88. Here he is, back Lewis, and there's another one. What a marvellous stroke off the back foot. That went to Atherton's left, and that was an astonishing stroke. He just hit through the line again. This time his weight was firmly on the back foot. Atherton, it was about 4 yards from him. He had not a hope of any sort. And my goodness me, you won't see a better stroke than that if you watch cricket 6 days a week and live to be 107. 326 for 5, Azharuddin 92. Wasn't that marvellous? Here is Lewis again. What is we going to be in store for now? Wait and see. Azharuddin again and drives it through mid-off for 4. And that was, if anything, a shorter ball. And Lewis just looks at him. What an incredible stroke again. And Diggy Bird signals 4 with great flamboyance. The crowd cheer, the Indian section of it particularly. And that again was a stroke that no other batsman in the world today could play, I dare say.
Fraser from the nursery and bows to him, and Azharuddin flicks it away, and there's his 100. As good a 100 as you will ever have seen. Flicked out towards the mid-wicket boundary for 3 runs. Morris, the fielder, just in front of the grandstand. And listen to the reception, just for a second, for Mohammad Azharuddin.
Well, I've been speaking to Mohammad Azharuddin. He was captain of this game, of course, well before his fall from grace for match fixing. But I asked him why he put England into bat on that first day.
Actually, it was a team decision. It was not my decision. Everybody discussed in the team meeting, and then it was a team decision which we felt that there was a lot of overcast condition, and then we had very good swing bowlers like Kapil Dev and then Manoj Tolwar. So we thought we would take early advantage of the wicket, and we actually did. Only thing where we followed is that drop catch of Graham Gooch.
How did you feel at the end of that first innings, having put England into bat and they scored 653 for 4 declared? Did you feel it had backfired a bit?
It's a very obvious question. I felt very bad. Everybody, when you when you're a captain, especially the opposition side scores 654, you're always in trouble. So I think I felt very bad, but at the same time, I was confident that because the wickets improved and then we had very good batting side as well. We did manage to get 400 runs.
But Ravi Shastri got 100. But of course, the one that everyone talked about, was your 121 that day. How do you rate that as one of your finest innings?
Well, I think I would reckon it's one of the finest innings, and playing at Lords, to score an inning, to score 121 runs, and then I think the best thing I enjoyed was that the crowd really applauded. Applauded me very well right from the first ball I faced till I got out. I think that was one of the finest moments for me, and I think I would largely like to thank Zaid Abbas for changing my grip during one of the tours of Pakistan in '89. And after that, my batting, I used to be very slow batsman. I used to get 100 and 200 balls or something. But after the change in the grip, then I was in the prime form. I was really playing very well, and I think it made a lot of difference.
That's Mohammad Azharuddin talking about that amazing century of his. Do you remember how he was out in the end, bowled by Hemmings? I mean, was it anything particularly?
I can't remember what sort of shot he played, but I would hazard a guess it wasn't a defensive shot. He wasn't over keen on too many of those.
No.
I don't remember. I think I had my head in my hands by then.
We'll ask Eddie in a minute, because of course then the additional drama of the follow-on, and you've got Kapil Dev increasingly marooned down there. They're nine wickets down. India needing 24 runs to save the follow-on. The number 11's at the non-striker's end. Eddie Hemmings has 4 more balls of his over to bowl, and this is what Kapil does.
Comes Hemmings and bowls, and this is the big hit. It's gone right over the side screen for 6, and a massive stroke it was. It hit the little bit of tarpaulin which separates the 2 new stands, just to the left of the uprights of the sort of rugby posts that are made by either side of that gap there. A tremendous burn. It was still travelling. It would have gone halfway into the nursery ground if that hadn't stopped it. Takes Kapil Dev to 59, the total of 436 for 9. 454 is the magic figure. Hemmings bows, down the pitch he comes, tries it again. It's going to be another 6. Over long on. Miles over long on. It was about 9 again, not 6.
Lovely shot. He doesn't half hit the ball. It's the high back clip, everything there. And now I reckon he wants a single.
65 to him. What a marvellous bit of batting by Kapil Dev. Hemmings quite rightly giving him the bait. He comes in now, and that's a bit flatter. He goes for the big hit again. He could be caught. There's another 6. 3 in a row. That was lower and even harder off a ball that was not tossed up. 18 off 3 balls. Equal the world record.
Well, that's equalled the record for 3 successive 6s, the most ever hit. Sylvester Clarke and Wally Hammond, but not in the same match.
This has been one of the best mornings cricket I have ever seen, I think. 448 for 9. Kapil Dev 71 not out. And now India, from being absolutely at the gates of doom, so to speak, if you consider the follow-on in cricketing terms, potential doom anyway. Now they're at the gates of paradise, because they need only 6 more, and that could be done in one shot.
Very difficult one. I think
one more ball. I think of the other.
I can't read Kapil Dev's mind. My own feeling is to go for the single now. Yeah. But I think he might go for another biggie.
You didn't often go for the 4 6s in a row, Trevor.
No.
Well, here's the last ball of the over. Hemmings bows it. Kapil Dev going for the big hit. It's going to do it, is it? He's done it. He has saved the follow-on. He's broken a world record. He shakes his fist to the Indian dressing room, and if that isn't one of the most remarkable things you've ever seen or heard in cricket, I don't know what is. 4 6s in a row, just when England seemed to have it all sewn up. Fantastic batting.
Speechless. I mean, it was fabulous. I mean, I've never seen that happen before. I don't think I'll probably ever see it happen again. They were big 6s. They weren't little ones that just... And they were all straight. Oh, magnificent.
Incredible. Well, 454 for 9. Fraser bowls to Hawani. It keeps low. He's LBW. Oh, what an extraordinary game it is cricket, and what a wonderful game this has been. And by 1 run, India have avoided the follow-on. Kapil Dev walking out to a hero's reception.
There we go, remarkable. Lovely memories. Lovely to hear Trevor there. I'm not sure if Eddie Hemmings enjoyed listening to that very much. Eddie?
Hello.
I'm sorry to do that to you.
Why?
Well, did you enjoy listening to it?
It's just a fantastic memory. It was a fantastic game of cricket, and it's not a... I don't have any problem with it. I mean, 4 sixes up and over, it's not a problem. Not to me.
No. I mean, I suppose...
He got to rest anyway, so he got some energy.
But it worked out well in the end, didn't it? I mean, even though the follow-on was saved, England won the match. I suppose you can always smile it off now, can you? But it must have been at the time remarkable, wasn't it? When did it dawn on you what Kapil Dev was doing, or did you think he was planning it or not?
I think it was after the second six. I turned to the skipper and said, what do they want? And he said, 2 more of them will do. And I thought, oh dear. And it was just sort of like a backhanded comment, but... You
are laid back, Eddie, but you're also very competitive, though, aren't you? I mean, you can't have enjoyed that very much.
Well, you know that. I played against you enough.
Well, exactly. So I can see that while you might have been smiling on the outside, I'm not sure that you were particularly thrilled inside, were you?
Well, not really. I wasn't sort of disappointed about it. And the really great thing that happened to me, well, as soon as I walked in the dressing room, Mickey Stewart slapped me on the back and he said, "You've just won us this test match." And I thought, well, you little liar, but it worked out brilliantly. Yes. And all I remember about the whole of the second innings was Kapil Dev slogging it down deep mid-wicket strokes and getting out for very few. And that really made my test match.
Yes, revenge.
4 brilliant ones and then 1 bad one.
Yeah. Was there any sort of eye contact between you at the time? I mean, talk me through what it was actually like out there in the middle when obviously it was pretty tense. But I mean, Kapil also is quite a laid-back sort of a character, isn't he? Was he smiling at you?
I think there was no eye contact. So that wasn't. I don't think that was me. I mean, the odd word now and again, but it wasn't really. They were 4 great shots. And then we've got to remember that the boundary was very short at Lords at that period of time. Yeah. Because they were doing all the reconstruction of the nursery.
You helped knock it down, didn't you?
Yeah. So you've just got to remember these little things. He probably would have been caught at least half of once, perhaps.
Gooch, what were you thinking when the ball was...
He was just great batting, and, and I must admit I didn't bowl negatively, I don't think at all. I saw it again the other day and I thought, oh my God, perhaps I should have fired it down the leg side, but then again it was, just not the way really.
What were you thinking, Gucci?
Well, I was thinking we need a taller fielder at long on, actually, but...
Well, I don't know, the first, the second or the third. Because that went into the nursery.
It was, I was a bit peeved at the time, not because you'd hit for 4 sixes, but I thought I'd caught Kapil Dev, you see, a few overs before, at slip off a Gus. And I remember going to Nigel Plews, the umpire. Kapil stood his ground, which is fair enough. My hands were on the ground, and it went straight in, and I said to Nigel Plews, what about that? It's catching. I caught that. And he walked over to Dickie Bird at square leg, and Nigel said, Dickie, he said, what about that catch? And he said, Nigel, I can't help you.
Oh, that's nice.
So we had to carry on bowling. So I was fuming a bit with that, and then with Eddie, obviously he was trying to lure Kapil. He lured him all right. And,
very, very harsh, I reckon that is good. Anyway, Eddie, look, thanks ever so much for joining us. Really good to talk to you and get your memories of that day. I've also been talking to, the other main component, if you like, of that sensational over, Kapil Dev, and this is his take on that occasion.
First 2 sixes I planned. I think, let's be put it very honest and say, I just given him impression, first 2 balls, whatever, if he bowled full toss also as defense. And then I have made up my mind, next 2, I will try to go for it, because I have to take a little bit of chances. 3rd and 4th, I think, I don't know what happened. It's just, my reflexes took over, the ball was caught and the swing was there, so I had a lucky day that.
Was there anything that Eddie could have done, any place he could have put the ball, that 4th one maybe, that you wouldn't have headed for 6, or were you just going then anyway? Had adrenaline taken over?
I think he done his best. If we recap the story, I think it was on very over-pitched ball, but much quicker, so I didn't have to really go for it. I just had to swing like a golf club. And the ball was there, so I think, again, some of the days in your life comes out. Whatever you do, everything comes to your side.
Yeah. Do you still talk to Eddie about it? Have you chatted it through? What was it like afterwards, for instance? Do you have a bit of a joke about it?
I think you can't really. You're a bowler always feel very disgusting at that stage. But now we can laugh it off and talk about that. I think at that moment, you are angry or frustrated and say, what the hell I done that? All those things.
Kapil, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Really good of you.
Thank you very much.
Well, time's marching on, but of course, okay, follow on avoided. In you go again to bat
Fill your
again.
boots.
And you get another 100, Gooch. I mean, it really is greedy.
Yeah, it is greedy.
Well, I said, I was a little bit angry because of the catch, which I thought was a good catch, which would have made India follow on, and then, of course, Eddie getting hit, which I wasn't that upset about. But we had to go on and move it on, and myself and Athers managed to put on a pretty good partnership. We wanted to win the game. It was the first test of the series. You have to make your mark. You have to, set your plan. And I was brought up at Essex trying to win matches, so we had to go for it, and we did, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. So there you go. You set it up. India bowled out for 224, but we've talked an awful lot about batting, and indeed, of course, Eddie Hemmings bowling. But what a catch as well. I mean, let's not forget this.
Awani bowls, gives that a lot of air, and Lamb lifts it towards long off. Is he going to be caught? Sprinting in there, two fielders going for it. Oh, wonderful catch by Tendulkar. Fantastic one-handed catch. It was one of those that just either sticks or goes past the hand for 4 runs, but he sprinted in from long off and held it about at full pelt in his right hand, low to the ground. It was a phenomenal catch, and this match has had so much wonderful cricket that it's almost as if we're getting all the good things of summer in one game.
There we go. England winning by 247 runs. One of the great tests.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been talking a lot about batting hundreds, but I mean, Gus is sitting here, and he got 8 wickets in that match, and as a bowler as well that Lords can be a very flat wicket. That particular match, it was flat, and it's bowlers who win you matches in those conditions, and certainly Gus was his best in that test match, naggingly accurate, aggressive, getting the ball to bounce, and batsmen win matches often on wickets which are bowler friendly, where the ball's it's a low scoring match and the ball's nipping around a bit, but certainly on flat wickets, you need someone to find that bit extra, and all our bowlers found a bit extra in this match.
And again, a great match ended in a classical way. I'd say Gooch's match, run out.
That's a very rare thing.
Ball hits the mid-off, he swoops round, knocks middle stump out of the ground. There's a magnificent picture, I think, somewhere at Lords, of Eddie sort of jumping out of the way and the stump cartwheeling out the ground, and a brilliant match ended in a spectacular fashion.
Fitting that Gooch should do it. Thanks, gents.
What wonderful memories of a truly fantastic test match. The match in which Graham Gooch scored more runs than anyone has ever scored in any test match. 456 he made across those 2 innings.